happen. Okay, so let's get everybody's eyes up front here. I'm going to teach you two things really quickly. Okay, first thing is a lot of you guys are finishing your sweet little pinch pots. Okay, every speck of this pinch pot should be glazed or underglazed. Okay, except for one area. That is any area on the bottom that is going to touch a shelf. Okay. Now, here's the deal. Underglaze is not made of glass, right? So technically speaking, underglaze would be fine on the kiln shelf. But this is black underglaze. Do you think that black underglaze looks any different than black glaze? Do you think I can verify that all of you have done it correctly and not used glaze? No, I cannot. There's no way for me to know unless you come to me ahead of time and show me what you're using. Does that make sense? And I only do that for kids I really, really trust and have had for several years. Okay? So the rule of thumb for all of us is that when we're putting underglaze or glaze in the kiln shelf, nothing can be on the areas that are going to touch. Okay? So you can see through on this ruler right here, the base barely doesn't touch. So you're good on that. You do not have to sponge off this area, okay? But what areas does Mia need to sponge off?
Feet.
The bottom of the feet, okay? So this is what you're gonna do. You guys, if you try to just ignore those little areas, it's still gonna be a mess and look awful. So my recommendation is just to underglaze everything, okay? And then at the end, you take a mostly wet sponge. This is pretty wet. Watch, see how wet it is right there? Can you guys tell that it's got lots of water in it? It's puddling up. I take a fairly wet sponge, not totally wet, but I'd say like half full. And then what I do is I just hold this sponge and I just wipe the bottom. And whatever comes off, comes off. Okay? If you thought you were free and in the clear and you're not, then you're good to go. So that right there, you guys, is a properly sponged bottom. You guys see that? Okay? Notice that some of the underglaze stood in the cracks. That's totally fine. We're good on the sides. It goes up a little bit, and that is okay. That is good. Everybody got me on that? So just underglaze it, glaze it. When it's a glaze thing, underglaze it, whatever. And just at the end, just take a really nice wet sponge and just wipe it clean. And you want to do it on like clean sides. So it's a nice big sponge, so if you have to, you can use different sides. Get it nice. Okay? So Mia, that's done for you. So when you're finished, you make sure you have 3 layers before you do all this, okay? Because if you don't, it's going to be over. Now I need everyone's full attention. Put your hands down. Hold your hands. Put your heads looking at the front because I'm about to teach you how we're going to glaze our tiles. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you my tile. This one's my tile. It's a little bit on the dusty side. I don't know if you guys remember, but I asked you guys to take a picture of your proof. You guys remember that? And you had your color schemes. Now, what we had talked about with your color schemes is that you want to use the more see-through glazes on your test tiles or on your carvings. Why would you want to use the more see-through colors? Because why? Because you can see what? Not the underglaze, that's not really why. The carvings. Okay? So if I'm looking at these test tiles right here, and I've used some of these colors in this video, or in this glazing, you can tell, can you see the black triangle on this test tile very well? No, this is a more opaque glaze. Notice where I used it on my tile. I used it in an area, the background, where there is no carving. So you can use opaque glazes, but only on areas of your tile that have no carving. Okay? We want to use the more see-through glazes, which I use this one and a pink one on here, and it mixed to make that color. But notice how see-through this golden aspen is. Notice how well you can see all my carving. But do you guys also notice that my carving is more obvious and visible because I've got underglaze in all of the cracks. All of the little carved edges, I'm not losing it. It's basically we're putting shadow in there so that all your carving is really obvious. Everybody following me? So what we're gonna do for that, you have to pick a dark underglaze. There's really like 3 dark underglazes. There's black, there's electric blue, and maybe red brown you could consider dark. But you could also mix a dark color, and you don't need much. I'm gonna use the electric blue for this demo. It's not gonna look dark right now, but notice that electric blue, once it gets clear gloss glaze on it, is very dark. Everybody see that? So remember, underglaze is a mind trip. It doesn't look how it's gonna look. For this example, I'm going to use this pot. I just keep using it year after year for demos. So just pretend you can't see it's clean and fresh, okay? What you're gonna do is you're gonna take a really wet brush, a really, really, really wet brush. So I have just got this brush super wet. It's dripping wet. And I'm gonna lob it up with some, see how wet and drippy that is? And I'm just gonna cover it. It's gonna run everywhere, and it's gonna seep with that extra water. That water allows it to seep deep into all of those cracks. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm gonna do one other area just to show you something. Lots of water, it's very drippy. Normally underglaze isn't this drippy, okay? Make sure it gets into all those cracks. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna let that dry. Now this isn't totally dry. I would let yours totally dry, but I'm gonna carry on. And then what you're gonna do with your carvings, this is on your tiles, okay? On your tiles, what have I just put on here? Everybody say underglaze. Underglaze is going in the cracks, okay? The underglaze is called like a staining technique, okay? And what I'm doing here that you can't see out of the shot is I'm taking a sea sponge. Notice how the sea sponge is very varied. It's very textured. And so what's happening is it's gonna pull off less of the underglaze. So I get it all rinsed out. Thank you. And I just very lightly start to sponge it off. Once it starts not sponging off, I rinse out my sponge. Probably every 2 or 3 wipes, I clean off my sponge. How much you decide to sponge off is totally up to you. Okay, you could leave it really dark and very, obvious. Or you could really try to sponge away and make it super, super clean and neat. But what I want you to realize is notice how this is a pretty deep, thick, wide carving area. If you sponge too much in there, all of that underglaze is going to come out because the hole is wide and the sponge can get down inside of there. Does that make sense? It all just disappeared right there. So don't over sponge, don't under sponge. We're going to put a stain of underglaze, a dark underglaze, so that it bleeds through the glazes, okay? Now for mine, I did a dark, like gray charcoal purple color, and you can see it inside of this pink, which was a light. It's inside of all the little holes here. It's in the crevices. It kind of got clogged up in some areas. See how when the glaze puddles and pools, sometimes you might lose it if you don't put very much on it. Okay, so be aware of that. Now I'm going to show you an example. I kind of taught Kai how to do it one-on-one. And this is what her lovely pot looks like right now, her lovely tile. She decided to leave a lot of the underglaze there. Does everybody see that? Like really left it nice and thick in the deep areas. And I think it looks great. Okay? Everybody understand what's going on? Once you finish with the underglaze, you have to go and put it back on the underglaze glaze shelf. It has to get fired before we glaze it. Does that make sense to everybody? So how many more times are we going to be glazing these tiles? How many times total are we going to be glazing these tiles? No, 3 times. 3 times total. 1 to make it bisque, to make it ceramic. 1 to do the underglaze. And then 1 when it comes out, you're going to do glaze on top of it and you'll fire it again. Yes? Well, firings, whatever, sorry. It's 2 glaze firings, 1 bisque firing for a total of 3 firings. Does that make sense? Sorry, that was confusing. Okay? So Kai is ready to go and put this on the shelf. It is ready to go. All right? If you do a tile, you must, the class before, if you guys have a tile that came out and it's like right now, go and find it. As long as it's cool to the touch, you can wash it off today so it's ready next class. Because it's not easy to do when your pot's really wet. Does that make sense, everybody? Any questions about sponging off bottoms or underglazing tiles for a wash? Okay, get to work. Thank you for listening and your attention. And Jackson, I hope you caught all that while you were underglazing over there. Mm-hmm. I see you. You guys think I don't see you. I see you. Yes.